So why did Brie Larson win the Best Actress Oscar for Room? Hey guys, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender. I have another Oscar race retrospective for you today. Throughout the year, I have talked about supporting actor, supporting actress, and actor for 2015. And it felt weird to me to not talk about actress for that year. My favorite category is Best Actress, and any opportunity I have on this channel to talk about an actress race going back, just a few years or decades or whatever it is, Best Actress 2015 is an interesting one to talk about. The year Brie Larson steamrolled the category from the Globes to the Oscars, winning basically everything for Room. A really terrific film from that year. I just watched it again last night. I hadn't seen it in a decade. And I think the first half is better than the second half, but it's a very strong film and it's really well acted. I know some people nowadays take issue with the Brie Larson Oscar win. Some people think that should have gone to Saoirse Ronan for Brooklyn, which I would have had no qualms with. That also would have been a well-deserving win in Best Actress at the Oscars. Why didn't Saoirse Ronan really have much of a chance? Why did Brie Larson just overtake everybody? We're going to get into it in this video. As always, let's start with the nominees, beginning with Charlize Theron, Mad Max Fury Road. Wait, she wasn't nominated for that. That's right, guys. One of the biggest acting snubs of the decade, I would say, at the Academy Awards was Charlize Theron missing Best Actress for Mad Max Fury Road. I know it was an uphill climb for her to get that nomination. She didn't really show up anywhere throughout the season. But because Mad Max Fury Road got into picture and director, it won how many categories that night? It won 6 or 7 awards that night. There was so much enthusiasm for Mad Max Fury Road at the Oscars that year. Why couldn't Charlize Theron show up in Best Actress? That would have been one of the coolest, most inspired Oscar nominations of the last 30 years. It would have been on par with how Sigourney Weaver got into Best Actress at the Oscars for Aliens, 1986. That is still one of the coolest things the Academy has ever done. And especially a decade later, it seems like there is room. No pun intended. There is room in Best Actress 2015. They could have done something really amazing and nominated Charlize Theron as Furiosa in Mad Max Fury Road. They did not. But you know what? As I begin this video, guys, I had to mention her because that is a snub to this day. That very much pisses me off. All right, who do I have in 5th place in Best Actress that year? I would say it was Cate Blanchett for Carol.
What a strange girl you are. Why? Flung out of space.
Now, I don't want you to think I dislike this nomination. I adore this nomination for Cate Blanchett in Todd Haynes' Carol, co-starring Rooney Mara, that beautiful love story set in 1950s New York. It is such a remarkable film. It was one of my favorites of 2015. I do think, however, that Cate Blanchett was in 5th place because the movie missed in picture and director, and she had just won Best Actress at the Oscars 2 years before for Blue Jasmine. Very rarely will you have a situation where someone wins their second Oscar, right? Cate Blanchett won for The Aviator and supporting actress, and then an actress for Blue Jasmine. There was not going to be a situation where just 2 years later, they give her a third win. I guess you could point to Frances McDormand Nomadland, her winning a third Oscar for that in Best Actress again. That was just 3 years after she won her second Oscar for 3 Billboards. So I guess you could point to that. But Nomadland won Best Director and Best Picture for 2020 at the Oscars. I do think that very much helped McDormand beat out her competition. There was love for Carol at the Oscars for 2015. It got into supporting actress for Rooney Mara, category fraud to the nth degree, right? That is a lead performance. She won Best Actress at Cannes for that. She got into lead actress at the Golden Globes. And then they were how do we get both of our actresses in for Carol at the Oscars? Let's run Rooney Mara in supporting. Why? Because she's younger, not quite as famous as Cate Blanchett. That always bothers me a little bit. Carol showed up in some other categories as well, so it wasn't ignored or anything. The Academy went for it, but I do think it missing director and picture. that made it like nearly impossible for Cate Blanchett to win again when she had just won for Blue Jasmine. That's why I have her in 5th place here, but I very much love that she got the nomination. Charlotte Rampling, 45 years.
And then we're gonna have dinner. And then we're gonna go to bed. And then we're gonna get up. And we'll try and start again.
Speaking of inspired Oscar nominations, that was one of my favorites from 2015. She basically didn't show up anywhere that season. She is not nominated at the Globes or at SAG or anything. And then I remember watching Oscar nominations live and being like, whoa! Like that was the big shocker nomination in the acting categories for the Oscars that year. Charlotte Rampling getting in for a very small film directed by Andrew Haigh, 45 Years, which is a devastating movie. It is so beautifully made and acted, and that ending just rips your heart out. The story of a couple, they've been married for 45 years, right? They're about to celebrate their 45th anniversary together, and she finds out before she got together with him, he was in love with another woman who died kind of mysteriously. She realizes he's never really lost this love for this other woman, but he just kind of settled with his wife, and he very much adores her, of course, but he still has feelings for that woman who died. And so it's a slow burn of a drama. It takes its time, but that ending, I have never forgotten the ending of 45 Years. It is such a powerful acting moment from the great Charlotte Rampling, who deserved to get an Oscar nomination for something throughout her long career, going back decades. Like, she's been around since the 60s? Like, maybe even before that. She's been acting for a long, long time. And she's been really good in certain things, but she never had that Oscar moment. She never had that film, that role that really catapulted her to a nomination. It finally happened in the later stage of her career with 45 Years, and that was awesome. I do think because she had never won before, she was the true veteran of the category. Even though 45 Years does not get nominated for anything else at the Oscars, I would still rank her in 4th in a way, because she was the true dark horse contender in the category. I mean, she was never going to win for that. The win for her was getting the nomination, 100%. But I do think that's a really great acting Oscar nomination of the 2010s. That film was so small, it easily could have been overlooked, especially at the Oscars. It's like they had to reach deep down to get that nomination to rise to the surface. That's what I love about it. I think Charlotte Rampling's long career helped get her there, and I do think her last scene in the movie, that's what secured her the Oscar nomination for 45 Years. She was never going to win for that, but I really love that nomination. Jennifer Lawrence, Joy.
Never speak on my behalf about my business again.
So it's interesting to talk about Jennifer Lawrence's last Oscar nomination, her 4th, Best Actress for Joy 2015, when I am just hours away, guys, from seeing Die My Love. Her latest film, the movie she's made since Joy, that in a way feels like the closest she's come since to getting an Oscar nomination. I don't think she's going to get in for Die My Love, but it's not impossible, and I'm very excited to finally see it after hearing about it for months since its premiere at Cannes. So looking back on her 4th Oscar nomination for Joy, why do I have this in 3rd place? Some of you might say, well, wouldn't that be in 5th, Brian? She had just won Best Actress for Silver Linings Playbook 3 years before. She was nominated for American Hustle 2013. Were they really going to give her an Oscar for Joy? Probably not. The only reason, guys, I have this in 3rd place is that she won the Golden Globe Award for Best Actress in a Motion Picture Comedy or Musical. She actually won a big televised prize for Joy, unlike the other 3 women in the category I'm talking about who didn't win the Oscar. Lawrence actually won something, gave a speech. That's why I have her in 3rd and not 4th or 5th, even though I'm going to agree with all of you. She had no chance in hell of winning for Joy. The movie wasn't received very well all throughout award season. It doesn't do well at the Oscars outside of Best Actress. That was really, at the end of the day, just a play for Jennifer Lawrence, an actress, and she got in. I do think that's the nomination, guys. Sorry, Jennifer. We could take out A Decade Later and replace it with Charlize Theron in Mad Max Fury Road. I would take out Jennifer Lawrence for Joy, even though she's great in that film. She's the face of it. She is all over that thing. She has a transformation, like a big character arc throughout the film. She's really good in it. I take nothing away from her talent, from the performance itself. I just think, like, after Winter's Bone and Silver Linings Playbook and American Hustle, like, it was a bit too much. It was like, I just remember when she got the Oscar nomination over Charlize Theron, I was like, we don't have to nominate Jennifer Lawrence for Joy. I think she herself would have been okay with that. Missing. I don't think she would have been crying about it. That film about a young mother who rose in fame and fortune and started like a business dynasty, a true life story. There are things to admire in that film. I saw it the one time, and again, I liked her performance in it. The movie as a whole hasn't really stuck with me. But especially compared to the other 3 nominations she had a few years before, I prefer those other 3 than the one she got for Joy. But I'm happy she won something, right? That she got to give a speech, and she always gives, very entertaining award speeches when she wins a trophy. That Brie Larson didn't win everything, right? Brie Larson won so much that season in Best Actress. If you told me, well, actually, for Room, she won both drama and comedy at the Globes, I'd be like, okay, yeah, she won everything, so that makes sense. Oh wait, no, she wins drama, someone else had to win for comedy. And if you look at the comedy musical category and actress that year, it's kind of inspired, it's kind of great. You have Melissa McCarthy for Spy, you have Lily Tomlin for Grandma, you have some wonderful performances there. But the only one that made sense to get in at the Oscars in Best Actress was Jennifer Lawrence for Joy, and that's why she won, I think. And again, she's good in it. I just don't think this is one of her better Oscar nominations. I don't think she had to get in for that. I think her slot should have gone to Charlize Theron for Mad Max Fury Road. Saoirse Ronan, Brooklyn.
And I was the only one who would dance with you.
Oh no, it wasn't.
Oh, so you danced with loads of others?
So was there anyone who could have beaten Brie Larson for Room and Best Actress at the Oscars that year? Not really, as we're going to talk about. I do think the only person who might have had a narrative who had somewhat of a shot, I would put her in second place, was Saoirse Ronan for Brooklyn, one of the best films of 2015. That was in my top 5. I put that at number 4 of the 5 Best Actress nominees that year. That's the movie I love the most. I think that is a wonderful film. Very romantic, very dramatic, beautiful period setting, 1950s Brooklyn. Saoirse Ronan plays an Irish immigrant who comes over and falls in love with this guy, tries to figure out what her next steps will be. Will she stay in America? Will she go back to Ireland? It's a very compelling story, and Saoirse Ronan is spectacular in it. It's a subtle performance, it's not a big performance. She doesn't disappear into the character in a way where physically it doesn't look like her or anything like that, but it's absolutely superb acting work from Saoirse Ronan, one of her best performances I do think to date. And now knowing in the mid 2020s that she has 4 acting nominations, she's never won at the Oscars, and we'll see when her next nomination comes. I do think it's coming, guys. I will be surprised in the next 5 years if she doesn't get a nomination soon. I think it's coming. She's just so freaking talented. I do think if back then we knew she wouldn't have a win yet, maybe she could have been more competitive for Brooklyn. And I wonder if Room had come out in 2014 or 2016, would Saoirse Ronan have won that year in Best Actress? Probably, right? The movie got into Best Picture, it got into Best Adapted Screenplay. So it's not it just got the acting nomination and nothing else. The Academy also embraced the film in 2 other big categories. So I do think she would have been more competitive to win things than Best Actress for Brooklyn if Brie Larson wasn't also in the category. I don't know what happened there. I don't know. Why did Saoirse Ronan win basically nothing all season? She is so good in that. It just feels like a wasted opportunity. She didn't have to win the Oscar. Brie Larson still could have won that for Room. But what if at Critics' Choice or SAG or BAFTA or something, they did not pick Brie Larson, they picked Saoirse Ronan? That would have been really great. I think that would have aged well. We didn't have to have Brie Larson just sweep. From the Globes to the Oscars, we could have given Saoirse Ronan something. I mean, she was on her second nomination at the Oscars, right? She had been nominated 8 years prior for Atonement in Supporting Actress. She's also fantastic in Atonement. So, like, not to say that she was overdue or anything, but she did have a previous nomination. So, like, on paper, it seems like she and Brie Larson would be closer. And you look at how that season played out, and it's almost like Saoirse Ronan played no role other than getting nominated everywhere. You know, maybe she wasn't in second place, maybe she was in third or something. I just think like she should have been more competitive. Her performance in Brooklyn, I would rank at the top 2 of her entire career. For me, it's Brooklyn and Lady Bird. I think that's the best work she's ever done. I'm so happy she's nominated, you know, that they didn't snub her or anything. She's there, but she should have had a better shot to win. And finally, the winner of Best Actress at the Oscars that year, Brie Larson, Room.
He was trying to trick me, okay? There wasn't a dog. Old Nick stole me.
I want a different story!
No, this is the story that you get.
Now, I saw this film only once a decade ago. I think it was around November of 2015. I loved this film. I thought it was really powerful, beautifully written and directed and acted all the way through. And I was intrigued, like putting this on again last night. I didn't remember much of it outside of The Room. I was like, that's most of the film, right? And watching it again last night, I'm like, holy shit, that material of the mother and son in The Room is only 40 minutes of the 2-hour running time. That's only the first third. That was surprising to me. I remembered it being most of the movie. It's like another 70 to 80 minutes of their escape and them trying to get back to normal lives at home with her parents and all of the difficulties that lie therein, and all of that stuff is really compelling too. But those first 40 minutes of Room are amazing. The way you, the viewer, are brought into that space through the cinematography and the direction, that really close bond between mother and son in that, I mean, especially in the first third of the film. It's just fascinating to watch. There's a lot of tension, and you can feel like something's coming. She's going to figure out a way to get out of this room and get to safety for both herself and her son, and you cannot look away. This is spellbinding filmmaking of the highest order, and the movie is small enough. You can see a reality in the fall of 2015. The film gets a lot of admiration and love from critics and audiences, but it just doesn't quite transcend. It doesn't get into like Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay. Maybe at the end of the day, it's just a play in Best Actress for Brie Larson and nothing else. That the film like overperformed in a way on Oscar nominations morning. It did very well in top categories. That people really embraced that film, which is not the easiest watch at times, right? It deals with very difficult and sometimes disturbing content, right? Thinking about everything this woman has gone through for 7 years, living in this tiny space with her young son and dealing with this demon of a man who just comes in there whenever he wants, uses her as a sex object, while her son is like basically behind closet doors so he won't look and listen to what's happening. It's disturbing, it's captivating, and I read the novel before the movie came out, and something the film does really well, it captures that point of view from the book, which is mostly like through the boy. And that's something the director Lenny Abrahamson does really well in the movie version, is see a lot of these things through his eyes, through young Jacob Tremblay, as he tries to sort his way through all of his thoughts and ideas about the world and this space and his relationship with his mother, who this man is, will they ever escape. The first 40 minutes of Room, a masterclass in everything filmmaking. The rest of the movie, I think, is solid. It's strong. It's just, it can't quite live up to the first third, the first act. It's so spectacular that watching this movie again last night, I of course admired many aspects of the rest of the movie, and it's got some wonderful acting moments, especially between Brie Larson and Joan Allen. There's that scene where they go off on each other, like in the living room, that I had forgotten about. I forgot that scene, and it's really great. It's really quite something. And I got to the end of the movie, and I said, okay, I don't always agree with the Best Actress Oscar win year to year. Sometimes, especially when you look back, 10, 20, 30 years ago at certain wins, you're like, did that person need to win? I know there is like a segment of the population that doesn't think Brie Larson deserved to win the Oscar for Room and Best Actress, especially over Saoirse Ronan. Having watched the movie again, I think this is a fantastic victory. She is so compelling, she is so real and authentic, especially in the way she cares for her son, how he is her entire world, both inside the room and out of it, all the way to the end. That very moving final scene, which I had also forgotten about. I was like, how does this end again? Oh, I was like, oh, perfect. This is a very moving finale, and her performance at the end, moments where she's not even saying anything, where she's just like looking at her son or trying to figure out what her next steps might be, the horror of her situation in a way both before and after the escape. It's just a very complicated three-dimensional character that she brings everything to. There is no holding back from Brie Larson in this movie, and I think she is outstanding in it. Only in her mid-20s at the time, she really gave one of the best performances of 2015. The pain, the anguish, the vulnerability, the confidence, the complexity, the not knowing, her love for her son. I have nothing negative to say about Brie Larson winning the gold trophy for Room.
Thank you to everyone who participated in Room. Thank you to all of you who saw it. Thank you to the fans. Thank you to the moviegoers. Thank you for going to the theater and seeing our films. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So why was she victorious? Why did she steamroll from the Globes to the Oscars? Why did she never miss? What was it about this performance, that film, that got her the frontrunner status very early on, that got her the Oscar victory? I have 5 reasons, guys. 5 reasons. There's nothing like overly shocking in these reasons. You're not going to be like, oh, that's why she won over Saoirse Ronan. There's nothing like mind-blowing here, but these are, to me, the 5 main reasons why she won the Oscar for Best Actress. Reason number 1 is, of course, that she swept the season, that she wasn't vulnerable anywhere, she didn't miss somewhere big. If someone else had surprised at SAG or at BAFTA, then we might have had a race. But because she won at the Globes, kind of expectedly, I remember thinking she was going to win. I wasn't sure in January of 2016 if she was going to steamroll, if she was necessarily going to win the Oscar. But after she won the Globe, I went, okay, if the Academy goes all in on Room, if they give it a picture nomination, screenplay, maybe something else, I think Brie Larson in Best Actress, that's where you reward the film with a trophy. So early on, I was thinking that would happen. She won the Critics' Choice Award, she won at SAG, gave a lovely speech. After she won at SAG, I was like, I think it's over. Who can possibly overtake her? This wasn't a situation where you had another film building in strength, like right alongside Room, someone else who could maybe win at BAFTA, and then it's like, oh, now it's like Olivia Colman, Glenn Close here, where we're not quite sure going into Oscars night, even though someone else won at BAFTA, could they win over Brie Larson? Because Brie Larson ended up winning at BAFTA as well, and Film Independent Spirit Awards. She won there too. So she didn't lose anywhere. The only big prize she lost was the Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Comedy or Musical, because her movie was in drama. I think if Brooklyn was more of a comedic film and Saoirse Ronan had won the Golden Globe for Brooklyn there in the other acting category, like for actress, and then let's say Saoirse Ronan won at BAFTA. Going into the Oscars, Saoirse Ronan for Brooklyn also took a Golden Globe and BAFTA, then we would have had a race. With Brooklyn also in Best Picture, then it wouldn't have been clear. Maybe Ronan can overtake her. She is on her 2nd nomination. Brie Larson only has the 1. Still to this day, Brie Larson only has that 1 Oscar nomination and win. And Saoirse Ronan has 4 nominations, still has not won. So again, if you look back on it today, if we knew then what we know now, I do think Ronan might have had a better shot. But because we weren't sure what was going to happen to both of their careers, what they would do next, when you're just comparing the two performances, like, it makes sense to me why Brie Larson won. It does make sense to me why she steamrolled the season. It just was one of those standout, phenomenal, emotional performances of 2015. The second reason Brie Larson won was that Room got in at the Oscars in Best Picture and Best Adapted Screenplay, and especially Best Director. That was the key, I think, that it got into director for Lenny Abrahamson. He missed basically everywhere. He is not nominated at DGA. He is not nominated at the Globes or a Critics' Choice or a BAFTA for Best Director. He was ignored outside of like critics groups and stuff. He was ignored everywhere. And then he got the shocker director nomination at the Oscars for Room. When he got that, I said, it's over. Like, for Best Actress, Brie Larson is winning this 100%. Like, she had been steamrolling. I wasn't seeing much competition there. When the Academy gave Room Best Director, I was like, it's done. She's winning. Larson's closest competitor, you could argue, was Saoirse Ronan for Brooklyn, which got into picture, got into adapted screenplay, but did not get into director. So because of that, like, if it was close, I don't really think it was that close, but if you argued it was, I think the director nomination at the Oscars for Room, that tipped everything in Larson's favor. Reason number 3 is that, guys, there just wasn't much competition in the category, as I've been talking about throughout this entire video. There wasn't a clear second place, someone who took at least 1 or 2 big prizes along the way. Again, if Saoirse Ronan had won a Golden Globe, had won BAFTA, had won something, right? One big televised prize along the way, we could have said, okay, Brie Larson is vulnerable. She lost that prize, right? She didn't win that. They went with someone else who was nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars. So, like, maybe, but because that never happened, by Oscars night, anyone but Larson winning would have been a shocker. Would have been the most shocking acting Oscar win probably of the entire decade. If Eddie Redmayne had said any other name, we would have been like, what? We would have been like, whoa, where did that come from? There just wasn't enough competition. Again, I think Cate Blanchett was just happy to be there. Charlotte Rampling was happy to be there. Jennifer Lawrence didn't have a shot in hell. The only person you could make the argument for was Saoirse Ronan for Brooklyn, and she just didn't win anything along the way. She had to win something big. She did not. So on the night, there was zero suspense. It was, in a way, like more of a given that Brie Larson would win Best Actress at the Oscars for Room than Leonardo DiCaprio for The Revenant. You know, like as much as DiCaprio had that locked up as well, like I think even by a smidge, I would say Larson had even like a better chance to win actress. Like it was that much of a done deal. Both DiCaprio and Larson were winning. There was no doubt in anyone's minds, and it happened, and it was like, okay, on to the next year. Maybe we'll have more of a race the following year, which we did. Reason number 4, I don't know how much of a role this played, but I remember thinking it at the time, that it might have given her a slight boost, like in early 2016, her snub pretty much all across the board 2 years before for her spectacular performance in Short Term 12. That incredible 2013 indie drama, one of my favorite films of the year. Anyone who saw Short Term 12, you were like, holy frickin' shit, who is this Brie Larson? Like I had seen her before in the Showtime series The United States of Terra, starring Toni Collette. I noticed Brie Larson in that show, and I was like, this girl's really talented. Like if she can get a really great movie script, like maybe something could happen. It arrived with Short Term 12, which just blew my mind. I really loved that film. I've seen it once since, and she is a standout in that. It is a very complex dramatic performance. She got a Critics' Choice nomination. She got in a Critics' Choice, and that was basically it. Maybe like the Spirit Award, she showed up there. Like she was a critics' darling that season. She showed up here and there with the critics, but I do think that film, Short Term 12, it was just too small to get her in at the Globes and at SAG and the Oscars and stuff. that was a very competitive year for Best Actress, like especially at the Oscars. You know, Emma Thompson didn't make the final 5 for Saving Mr. Banks. She missed there, like they weren't going to nominate at the Oscars Brie Larson for Short Term 12, but I do think going into 2014 and 2015, there was goodwill for her performance in that film. There was that talk of her getting snubbed and not getting nominated everywhere she deserved to be. So I do think Short Term 12 also helped guide her to a win in Best Actress at the Oscars just 2 years later for Room. And the fifth and final reason, I mean, I could just say the dramatic power of her performance. She's really, really great in Room, guys. Watching it again a few hours ago, I was like, wow. This is a really stunning, dramatic transformation. She gets some big, flashy, emotional scenes. It's not all like quiet and reserved the way Saoirse Ronan's performance mostly is in Brooklyn. Like in Room, there are scenes where she doesn't say very much. She's acting like just with her expression and her eyes. But there's at least like 3 or 4 scenes where she's yelling, where she's going off, where she's crying. It's at times a very big performance, so that helped her win too. I would put like the fifth and final reason being the bond she creates in that movie with Jacob Tremblay, who I haven't really talked about much in this video, but oh my frickin' god, Jacob Tremblay in Room. How did he not get an Oscar nomination? Watching this again, I was like, Jesus Christ, this is one of the best child performances we have had in the movies in the last 20 years. And I think the problem is he was being pushed in supporting actor. He got the SAG nomination for supporting, didn't win there, didn't get the Oscar nomination, of course, because they were pushing him in the wrong category. That is a lead performance. I don't care that it's a child. You know, just because he's a kid, he has to go the Tatum O'Neal route, Paper Moon, and go supporting just because he's young. That is a lead performance. Much of that film is told through his point of view. Like his narration opens and ends the movie. And the Academy showed just 3 years before they could nominate a child in a leading acting category, Quvenzhané Wallis, Beasts of the Southern Wild. She did not get nominated at the Oscars in supporting actors for that. She got into lead actress. So from the get-go, guys, from the beginning, especially since lead actor for the Oscars that year, the whole season, as I talked about in the DiCaprio video, wasn't overly competitive. They were just like trying to fill up the category. Jacob Tremblay, from the beginning, should have been pushed in lead actor for Room, not in supporting. And who knows what might have happened? He might have missed anyway. But because Room gets into picture and director and adapted screenplay, and because actor had some wiggle room, did we have to nominate Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl? We did not. We could have nominated Jacob Tremblay for Room, and that would have been one of my favorite acting Oscar nominations of the entire decade. Because in a way, I do think the last reason she won Best Actress was the relationship, the bond she has in the movie with young Jacob Tremblay. He makes her better. Every step of the way throughout those 2 hours, he makes her performance soar, right? If they had cast the wrong kid in that role, the movie crumbles, right? No matter how much good work Brie Larson is giving in that film, if the person who plays her son, Jack, is not bringing it 110%, there's no movie, there's no Oscar win in Best Actress for Brie Larson. I do think the fifth and final reason she won was Jacob Tremblay, his performance, the bond they create. It's so real, so authentic. Their relationship feels so lived in. It feels like they've been together in this room for many years. And because of that powerful and haunting connection between mother and son, I do think that's the other main reason Brie Larson was never going to lose the Oscar. In some ways, I feel like any mother in the Academy probably voted for Brie Larson, right? Anyone in the Academy with a child had to empathize with what her character was going through in that horrible relationship she had with this man who was abusing her year after year, in how she was kidnapped, in having this child, and trying to make his world as decent of a place as humanly possible. the Jacob Tremblay, Brie Larson connection all throughout that film that also got her to the Oscar win. So as I mentioned before in this video, Brie Larson has never received a second Oscar nomination to this day as of this recording. She's probably most famous for playing Captain Marvel, right, in the Marvel series. She's really good in Lessons in Chemistry, which played on Apple TV Plus like 2 years ago, I think. I really adored her performance in that series. I think it was like 8 episodes or so. That's probably the best work she's done since Room. I don't know when her next Oscar nomination might arrive, maybe soon. She's always developing new projects, and she has been in some dramas and things since Room. I feel like all it's going to take is that really sparkling screenplay, great director who takes another chance on Brie Larson in the years to come, and she can be nominated for her second Academy Award. It would not surprise me. I think she is a stunning actress, very talented. I can't wait until her next performance that really blows our minds the way her performance in Room did a decade ago. I have now completed my task, right, this year of talking about all 4 acting categories at the Oscars 2015. It's been a lot of fun, and it was a genuine thrill to rewatch Room again after a decade. If you haven't seen this wonderful movie in a long time, give it another look. It is a spellbinding watch, so well written and directed and acted. Jacob Tremblay is an absolute force, one of the best child performances we have had in cinema in the 21st century, and Brie Larson, just frickin' wow. She is spectacular in that film, and I am so happy she won. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, what do you think of Brie Larson's Academy Award victory for Room? Is there anyone else in the category you wanted to win instead? I'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.